Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 1051, 1051, Saturday, February 22nd, 2020. Thank you so much for tuning in. Busy news day. Let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, we have epic news. You're going to like this story. Oh boy, man, I was so happy when I read this story. So here you go. Trump has named Kash Patel to serve as senior advisor to Rick Grenell, who Trump just appointed as the new acting DNI. Let me repeat that. Trump has just named Kash Patel to serve as senior advisor to Rick Grenell, who Trump just appointed as his acting DNI. Now, if you don't know who Kash Patel is, I'm not going to go this whole bio, but he's very impressive. But just let me give you a couple things that are pertinent to the time and the reason why it's so important that he be there at working with Grenell as DNI. So Patel was actually Devin Nunes's lead investigator as he was battling the Trump-Russia hoax. He was Devin Nunes's lead investigator. Patel is also the guy who actually wrote the 2-page FISA memo that Devin Nunes released that outlined the improperly obtained FISA warrants on Carter Page. Now, Catherine Herridge is reporting that Patel and Grenell are mandated by the president to clean house from top to bottom in all 17 intelligence agencies. And let's not forget, for those of you who just going back here a couple of months, I went through Lee Smith's book, chapter by chapter, on this TowerGate video series. And I assume I mentioned at some point along the way that essentially Lee Smith's book was about Devin Nunes's investigation into the Trump-Russia collusion hoax. And he talked a lot about, and he used a lot of the information that was cultivated and discovered by Kash Patel in his book. Some of that material in the book was actually from Lee Smith's own investigation, the pre-dossiers and some of that stuff and other things where he filled in the gaps. But a lot of the information in Lee Smith's book came directly from interviews that he did with Kash Patel and information he got from him. So Kash Patel is a hardcore Trump supporter, very close to Devin Nunes. His background is in intelligence and counterintelligence. He knows the whole story. He knows who the bad guys are in the deep state, in the intel agencies. He knows everything. Let's put it that way. Probably nobody knows as much as Patel amongst people who don't have access to all the classified information, such as A.G. Barr or Mr. Durham or someone like that. But for someone who only has access to, typical FOIA requests or public source information or things that he learned from being Devin Nunes's chief investigator, and of course Nunes sitting on the Intelligence Committee, he has certain access. But as far as what you would say lay people outside the inner workings of the deep state, no one probably knows more about it because he's been in Washington, he's been in counterintelligence, he's been in intelligence, he knows who the criminals and the deep state crooks are. So no one better than Kash Patel to get in there with Grenell and drain the swamp at DNI. And remember, the Director of National Intelligence is over all 17 intelligence agencies. So they have incredible amounts of power, but they don't have long to work. Not much time. Remember, an acting position only lasts about 200 days. So they have about 200 days, basically a little over 6 months is all they've got. And at that point, there'll be a new DNI, a permanent DNI, who have to go through the nomination process and be confirmed by the Senate. But Grinnell and Kash Patel do not have to go through that because Grinnell is acting and Patel is simply acting as a special assistant to him. Patel is going to point out who the bad guys are, and Grinnell is going to fire them. And Trump has also adopted something new that he's passing along, and that is these people are to be fired. They are not to be moved from one agency to another. This doesn't mean we're going to take them out of CIA and put him in state, or take them out of state and put him in DOD or anything like that. No, these people are to be getting the swift boot up the ass, out the door, out of town. That's the type of draining the swamp that we're talking about here. So we should all be extremely happy, and this is going to be very important to the Durham investigation and to getting out the truth and to stopping any future coup attempts in the future against President Trump. So again, President Trump's now getting actively involved, and this will be a little bit of a push, obviously, for AG Barr as well. I think this was an excellent move, and I was very, very happy when I read this story, and you should be too. Henry Kyle Freese has pled guilty yesterday to leaking classified information to a reporter at CNBC. Freese had worked for the Defense Intelligence Agency until he was fired after being charged. Freese is a left-wing deep state swamp creature, and he's now facing a 10-year prison sentence after pleading guilty to 2 counts of leaking classified information to his girlfriend over there at CNBC. Yes, draining the swamp. Yeah, so this is a case that he was actually found out and arrested, charged months ago, but finally he entered into negotiation and he has pled guilty to both counts. He'll be going to jail for, well, he's getting a 10-year sentence. I doubt he'll actually serve that much time, but he certainly got the 10-year sentence. Now, what's interesting about this is that Mr. Wolf, who leaked the Carter Page FISA to his girlfriend, only got 2 months. 2 months. Did the exact same thing. He leaked classified information to a young reporter he was sleeping with. But Wolf gets 2 months, and this poor sap, Mr. Freese, gets 10 years. What's the difference? Well, I think the big difference is probably Senator Warner and Senator Burr and maybe some others on the Senate Intelligence Committee, the gatekeepers of the deep state and D.C., most likely either encouraged Mr. Wolf to do that leak or they gave him protection. See, that's how it works in the swamp. When you're going to do things like this, you better make sure you've got some dirt on some high-powered people if you want to walk. And that's the mistake that Mr. Freese made. He had no dirt, nothing to dump on any high-level people, and so he got the boot and the ass and the long draw. Enjoy your 10 years in prison, Mr. Freese. You swamp creature, son of a bitch. Now, more good news of draining the swamp. Trump has rehired Johnny McAtee, who was previously fired by that bastard John Kelly in 2018. McAtee has been brought back by Trump to target anti-Trumpers across multiple government agencies and to send them packing, as in fired. And again, not to move them to different agencies, to kick them completely out of town, out of the swamp. Now, McAtee is described as a fierce Trump loyalist whose earlier efforts to purge bad people, deep staters, from the government was stopped cold in its tracks after Kelly fired him. Now he's back, and he has a mandate from the president to clean house, to get him out, not just move them around, fire them. McAtee will join Grinnell, Patel, and Hope Hicks in the effort to get a handle on the anti-Trump culture that has been a thorn in President Trump's side since he was elected. Oh yes, the swamp is being drained. Absolutely. I don't know how many of you saw that clip of Matt Gaetz on The View, but I don't know if I've seen a lot of Republicans try to go on The View and try to get a word in edgewise, try to make their case without being just absolutely abused. And I've never seen anyone handle it like Matt Gaetz. I mean, he literally is so much smarter than everyone on The View. His mind works so much faster, and he's got that sense of humor and that boyish smile, and he's such a nice guy that all those things combined made him impossible for the women on The View to be able to handle. And he just destroyed them. I mean, he literally destroyed them. If you haven't seen the clip of Matt Gaetz on The View, you got to watch it. He was very, very effective. I mean, he destroyed every argument thrown at him by the horse-faced women on The View, and made a very good re-election campaign presentation for the president. And I mean, he just did a fabulous job. I love Matt Gaetz. He's right about 98% of the time, and he just did an absolute great job. I don't know if I've ever seen a Republican perform better on The View. He did absolutely fantastic. Check out the clip if you get a chance. Uh-oh. What do we have here? The Trump-Russia hoax is back. Yes, that's back. It's been revived. I guess we could call this Trump-Russia Part 2. Trump-Russia Part 2. It looks like Mr. Potato Head may now be pushing a new Russia hoax with his latest leaks to the New York Times. Mr. Potato Head is accusing President Trump of abetting a Russian covert operation to win the 2020 election. Oh my God. This is just hard to believe that Mr. Potato Head is trying to resell and repackage the Trump-Russia 2020, especially when it's pretty obvious to everyone he doesn't need any help beating the Democrats in 2020. And of course, the Mueller witch hunt blew up the original Trump-Russia hoax, and it's laughable at this point. And what's even funnier about that is that this time, instead of everyone being on the same sheet of music with the talking points, there's now actually two completely different stories. One being run by the New York Times, which is being pushed by Brennan, saying that Trump, as he's trying to resurrect the Trump-Russia 2.0 Part 2. And but you got the Washington Post actually running another propaganda piece, now saying that the Russians are trying to help Bernie win in 2020, which would be more logical because, after all, Bernie did honeymoon in the Soviet Union. He's a communist. Now, I mean, the Russians aren't communist anymore, so I don't know what to think. I mean, Bernie couldn't get elected in Russia today, and he certainly couldn't get elected in Denmark because the president of Denmark's come out and said, "Hey, Bernie, please stop talking about us being a socialist country. We're a capitalist free market economy, not a socialist economy." Bernie couldn't get elected in Denmark. And I don't want to be like Denmark, to be honest with you. But anyway, this is what's so funny about this. Now, apparently, this is based on a briefing that the House Intelligence Committee got about a month ago from the acting DNI, who told them, yeah, I mean, obviously we, see that the Russians are again going to try to create chaos in the elections. But according to people who were in the briefing, they're not saying that the Russians they're not picking any sides. The Russians have been doing this since the 1950s, along with many other governments. They're not really picking sides. They don't really give a damn who it is. They know we have a permanent establishment which runs our foreign policy anyway, so they know it doesn't matter who the president is, okay? What they're trying to do is sow discord within the country. They've been doing this since the 1950s. A lot of other people do that, and we do that as well. And we create chaos in Russia. We create chaos other places. All countries do this as part of their normal intelligence operations. Create chaos amongst your adversaries and even your friends in many cases, just to, screw with them. And so that's what's going on. There's nothing new here. It's just been going on forever. Of course, Mr. Potato Head is currently in the... on the radar of Mr. Durham. He's really digging into Brennan, and as we've been hearing from reports coming out the last couple of weeks, it seems that he's dialed into Brennan, and we're hearing that that Durham believes that Brennan essentially was withholding evidence or information from the FBI and other agencies, including other intelligence agencies, and that he was part of manufacturing a lot of what went down, creating and manufacturing all this information that was then pipelined or flowed into the FBI, the State Department, and other places. And he was just kind of out there on the outside as a puppet master, directing all of this, while at the same time pretending to be, disassociated with this information, as if he was just learning about this stuff, when in fact he was actually part of the manufacturing of it. Mr. Potato Head is absolutely 100% going to go to jail. I'm certain of that. Absolutely certain of that. And that's why he's crazy. I mean, the guy's literally a psychopath. And he just can't get off of it. But Mr. Durham, there you go. There's Brennan, who largely perpetuated the source of the perpetuation of the original Russia hoax. And now he's out there pushing Russia hoax part bleh. So there you go, Mr. Durham. You might want to take this guy off the streets. I think he's kind of dangerous to the Republic. Pick it up, sir. Uh-oh. Breaking news. The Washington Post is reporting that U.S. officials warned Bernie Sanders, Commie Bernie, that Russia is attempting to boost his prospects of winning the White House in 2020. Now, Sanders admits that he was briefed on the matter, and he has told the reporter, he said, quote, why did that come out now? Maybe because, he probably said something like this. So, why did that come out now? Maybe because the Nevada caucuses are a day away. And it was leaked by the WashPo. Good friends. Yep, that's right. Why did this come out now? Maybe because the Nevada caucuses are underway. And, of course, it was leaked by the Washington Post, which, of course, has been abusing Bernie now for months. So, there you go. Bernie probably making a good point, but the deep state needs to get their story straight. You can't have it both ways. The Russians can't be trying to help Bernie win at the same time they're trying to help Trump win, when right now it looks like Bernie is going to be the guy who arrives at the convention with a plurality of delegates. And the Democratic Party will have one of two choices. Either accept the fact that Bernie is going to be the nominee. That's what the Democrats want. That's what the voters of the Democratic Party want. They want Bernie. And they're either going to nominate Bernie and Trump will kick his ass in 2020, or they're going to cheat him again, which I think is exactly what they'll do. And now that Mini Mike Bloomberg has greased the skids for the rotten Reverend Clinton, they'll most likely put her in as the centrist compromise candidate. I think that that's the plan. I think it's been the plan. I think that the rotten Reverend Clinton and Mini Mike, because why does Mini Mike want to be the president? He doesn't. He's already got more power than the president. He ain't doing it for the money. He's getting plenty of attention, but he would be bored with that job in about a week. He's used to telling people what to do. And as president, your job is not really telling people what to do. Not really. You got to work with Congress. You got to work with all sorts of various factions around you. You got to constantly be in a negotiation and compromise situation. Bloomberg's a dictator. And you got to like people and all that sort of thing. Bloomberg hates people. I don't think Bloomberg ever wanted this job. I think that he's somehow in cahoots with the rotten Reverend Clinton and the DNC. I think he's playing kingmaker. He greases the skids for the rotten Reverend Clinton. He bankrolls the DNC so they can compete against Trump because they're having a very difficult time raising money. And then he gets to the convention, essentially for one reason or another, steps aside or allows himself to be defeated. Then he comes out, maybe he gets there with Bernie and realizes that they split the party too much. And then he comes out, the DNC comes, well, we need to find a compromise, someone in the center. We need to bring the party together. And that's the rotten Reverend Clinton. And then Bloomberg comes and says, yes, I agree. It's true. And so I'm going to go ahead and step back and endorse the rotten Reverend. And then what will he have just done? He will have just bought himself total access to the White House for the remainder of the time that the rotten Reverend will be president. Of course, that's not going to happen. She's going to lose and lose bad. And I'm not 100% sure her plan's going to work. Because I think there's still a lot of people who, I don't think she's as popular with the folks as she thinks she is. Yes, the superdelegates, she owns them. The people who run the DNC, the DCCC, and the establishment of the Democratic Party, that's all her people, and they will try to ram her down the throats of Democrats. But as far as the Democrats themselves, the voters, I don't think that they're going to be accepting of Hillary as they think, and will probably reject her. So I don't know what you do then. I mean, if you try to make a compromise, and the compromise is the rotten reverend, after Bloomberg has greased the skids for her, and then they reject her, then where do you go? Where do you go then? There may not be a Democratic nominee. They just may cede the election to Trump as they screw it. We'll just try again in 2024. That'd be better. That'd be the best move they could do. Because anybody that they put at the head of the ticket could likely do so much damage to the down ballot Democrats running in Congress, and that's the goal right now. They know they're not going to win the White House. They're looking for the person who they can put at the top of the ticket who will do the least amount of damage to the down ballots. That's the game right now in play. That's the game that's in play right now. Now, of course, that's good analysis from me. Of course, I'm usually right. Remember, I predicted Trump would win with 302 delegates votes in the Electoral College 4 days before the election in 2016, and I have witnesses. Now, let's move on to the next story, which is, let's see, some commentary on the current political situation regarding the demo commies. Well, we have MSNBC contributor Jason Johnson saying that liberal whites love Bernie Sanders. Yes, they do. And his staffers are from the island of misfit black girls. Well, that's nice. We have Commie Bernie saying that Trump will chew Bloomberg up and spit him out. Well, he would if he were going to face Bloomberg, but he won't be facing Bloomberg, Bernie. It'll either be you or the Rotten Reverend, or I don't know who. I don't know who else is there. Take your pick. I mean, maybe they'll bring back Biden. Maybe they'll write in Biden. Let's just bring back Joe. Yeah, he lost the primaries. He's nuttier than hell, but he's a compromise candidate. Who knows? Well, the Rotten Reverend Clinton, we find out from a newly discovered email from Peter's Been Stroking Us. A newly discovered email from Peter's Been Stroking Us. We now learn that the Rotten Reverend Clinton, when she was being interviewed by Been Stroking Us, that she actually apologized for having a private server. Yeah. That's like John Wayne Gacy apologizing to the FBI for killing 40 people or something. Well done. Absolutely well done. In other words, she confessed. She confessed. And still Jimmy the Weasel, Comey, former director of the Federal Bureau of I'm with her, let her off the hook. But that's okay, because we got a hook for him. And he also will be going to jail. And he also can't keep his mouth shut. Rolling right along. The hits just keep on coming. Well, it looks like we have Quid Pro Quo Joe back to his bad old self. He managed to stay halfway sane through the debate in Las Vegas, but now he's back to the crazy Joe. So now Biden is actually said a couple things that are straight up crazy and lies. He's telling a story out there now, which I understand he's told in the past. It changes every time. But the newest version of the story is that he was arrested. Now he's speaking to black voters. He's trying to get some black votes. He says that he was arrested in 1977 in Africa because he went to visit Mandela. Says he was arrested in 1977 because he went to visit with Mandela. But as it turns out, that's another lie. Now, unbelievably, a couple of journalists who were covering that particular little speech he was giving, decided to check that out. And what they found is that over the years, he's told various versions of the story. But they went back and talked to a couple of people who were actually on the plane with Biden, who were on the trip with Biden. And they said, no, we weren't arrested. Nope, nobody was arrested. Biden wasn't arrested. I don't know what he's talking about. Another lie. But he believes this in his mind. I think Joe Biden has told so many lies that they're stuck in his head now, and he believes they're true. Because he's nuts. That's the bottom line. We also have Burisma Joe over there at CNN at a town hall saying that his deceased son, Beau, was the United States Attorney General. No, not true. Beau Biden was never the U.S. Attorney General. He was the Attorney General in Delaware. So he doesn't know the difference, I guess. Like I said, he's nuts. And of course, he is in that same CNN town hall. He accuses Trump of weaponizing the Department of Justice. Weaponizing the Department of Justice. Exactly what he and Obama did. Remember, Biden was in that January 4th meeting when they sat around and discussed how they were going to launch a coup on Trump. He was in that meeting. He knows all about what went down, and he knows who really weaponized the DOJ. And I do hope that Mr. Durham makes that perfectly clear when he comes out and finishes his investigation. It needs to be made perfectly clear who actually did weaponize the Department of Justice, and it's still continuing to this day. He also wants to ban semi-autos. Well, that'll lose you it's either 33 or 36 states that I know for a fact that an attempt to ban semi-autos is such a big loser that you would lose the state if you campaigned on banning semi-autos. It's either 33 or 36 states. So Burisma Joe wants to leave us with a musket. Thank you very much. That's what we'll have. If Burisma Joe becomes president, he will go along with a ban on semi-autos, and then we can all try to get along with our muskets. I don't think so. Well, it looks like Commie Bernie has a double-digit lead on the eve of the Nevada caucus. I expect he will win, and Burisma Joe will forget that there even is a Nevada caucus. We have Jim Cramer over there on CNBC asking if Bernie is really a socialist or a communist. You know, I never really differentiate between the two. They're both forms of collectivism, and the most important ingredient of socialism or communism exist in both socialism and communism, and it means that the government takes over the means of production. The government takes over or controls the means of production. That's all you need to know about socialism. That's all you need to know about communism, and that's all you need to know about why it doesn't work. The government takes control over the means of production, and that's what Bernie wants. So you can call him a socialist, a communist, a Marxist, a Trotskyite. Call him what you will. He's a collectivist, and he wants to take over the means of production. Label it however you choose. The result is the same. Misery, poverty, chaos, failed states. I have finally decided to congratulate myself. I'm not a doctor, but I believe I correctly identified and diagnosed TDS months and months ago. And now I'm prepared to come out and say I'm completely sure my diagnosis is correct. As you know, months ago I said I believe that TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome, or Trump Anxiety Disorder, whichever one you choose to go with, they're both the same, are essentially a disease that eats away at brain matter. And now I am absolutely 100% convinced that I was correct. I have no scientific studies, obviously just observing Democrats who are afflicted with this disease behaving in their natural habitat. And I am now 100% certain that TDS, or Trump Anxiety Disorder, is a disease that essentially, when you get it, it actually eats away at your brain matter. Gray matter, if you're Mini Mike. That it's almost like, imagine, you remember Pac-Man? Bing, bing, bing. That was Space Invaders. Yeah, Pac-Man's a little guy with a little mouth, chewing. It's almost like when you get Trump Derangement Syndrome, there's like a little Pac-Man in your head that starts just biting away and chewing away and eating away at brain matter until you have none left. And that's why it's a progressive disease, and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And that's what I'm seeing, and that's why I think my diagnosis and my analysis is correct. That it is, in fact, a progressive disease that eats away at your brain matter, and the longer you continue to live with TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome, without getting some sort of treatment, if you don't get treatment eventually, you'll completely go brain dead. Brain dead. You'll be like a plastic apple or banana in the fruit dish. You'll be like a plastic plant. essentially brain dead, no brain wave. That's where it eventually goes. That's why I say if you have Trump-Grandin syndrome, get some help. Biden has also ruled out a second term if his energy and mental acuity decline. That's a great campaign speech there. Yeah, vote for me. And I'll tell you right now, if I don't have enough energy and my mental acuity declines, I won't go for a second term. Like I said, you've heard me say it before. I'll just say this to Burisma Joe. Easter is coming.